Part of the beauty of the British Isles is the variety of accents and dialects that you hear. When you make the journey to Shetland, you might have to tune your ear to make out what the locals are saying. I'm meeting up with writer, broadcaster and dialect expert Mary Blance to give you an introduction to the Shetland dialect. Hi Mary, so first of all, can you kind of describe the Shetland dialect to me?
It is a kind of a mixture really, because in the beginning, in the old times, Shetland had a language of its own, a language called Norn, which was one of the Nordic languages, maybe a pretty bit like Icelandic, an old language. Then we were taken over by Scotland, and folk obviously started to speak Scots. But as the language evolved, the Scots that we spoke incorporated a lot of the older words for the Norn. So the vocabulary we have today is a mixture of Scots with that soupçon, that pretty testing of the Norn as well. And of course English, which eventually became the language of the classroom.
When folk first arrive in Shetland, then what can they expect with the Shetland dialect? You described there about English, and we definitely have a different accent for everybody, but we also have this habit of knapping to folk.
Yes, you cannot really expect a Shetlander to speak a very natural dialect to you, because it's polite to speak English. Now, you'll notice that I'm no knapping at the moment, which is interesting, but it's because I'm speaking to thee, Helen, and I ken thee, there's a friend, and therefore I'm comfortable speaking in dialect. But normally, to be polite, a Shetlander will change their tone, the way they speak, and they will knap. And there are various degrees of knapping. There can be quite a proper English, there is the classroom English. See, I really am finding it quite difficult to speak English to you, Helen, since you are a friend. And notice there, I'm saying you or thee. Thee is the familiar, the singular, and it's kind of the TH changed to thee, a thee, thou and thine, the more old-fashioned way of speaking, more like the French too, the intimate, the friendly one.
And as well as that differences, there is also differences of accent throughout the Isles as well.
Yes, I come from the North Mainland, so I speak with a North Drew accent. But my mum grew up on the West Mainland. Now, there's a quirk in the West Mainland where WH wh is said qua. So I use both wh and qua. So I'd say quai de duduyan, what is yon, and that kind of thing. But I never know until I open my mouth whether I'm going to say why or quai. But there is this differences, and you'll notice as you travel around that there are different pronunciations, and sometimes even different words that will be specific to certain areas. So.
That's right. One place that really obviously springs out to mind is Walser, that just seems completely different from anything else in the rest of Shetland.
Well, that's in the vowels. You listen to the vowels. Walser and Fair Isle sound very similar, with the toy, you too as well, toy, an oir a toy, an air of tea, a drop of tea. And there's a guy called Stephen Robertson that writes delightful, humorous songs. And if you go on the internet, if you go onto YouTube, you might find him singing. I don't speak Walser.
We spoke at the beginning about how the dialect is evolved, but it's kind of evolved more through the years, or it's maybe been a bit diluted more recently. But you're involved with Shetland Forwards to promote the use of the dialect, aren't you? Can you tell me a bit about what you're doing there?
Well, we began 10 years ago, and after 10 years we declared this 2014 to be the year of dialect. Back in 2004 there was a conference where there was a kind of debate, where there was a decision that if we were going to save the dialect, if it was going to survive, certain measures had to be taken to help it survive. And that conference looked at developing materials for schools, at developing a website, things like that. And in that 10 years, Shetland Forwards has got materials in at each level, primary school, and that's very, very carefully aligned towards what the bairns are expected to be doing in the curriculum, so that it goes for nursery and preschool right up to primary 7. And we're very proud of our website, which is, as we always say, a work in progress. If you want to go to the website, www.shetlanddialect.org.uk, but, and this I think is very important, not only do you get to see the dialect, but you do get to hear it, so that in our dictionary each word is pronounced so that you can how to say it. And there are different kind of examples. We did, two of us helped get a book called Bright Pebbles published a few years ago, and the book includes a CD, so that some of the poetry, some of the stories are actually there, so that you can hear it as well as see it.
That's really important, isn't it? Just to be able to hear that different pronunciations. And along with your book, then, you've got what the other books here with you as well?
Well, we've got one that we brought out this year, which we're really quite proud of. It's small, it's a pocket-sized book. A book to put in your pooch, as we would say. It's called Myriads of Words. It's a Shetland dialect word book, but we're very concerned that it's not a dictionary. It's absolutely not a dictionary. It's just a whole selection of Shetland words with a different kind of, we've done, what have we done? Let me turn to the front page. We have done place names, because that's something that folk will see as they travel around, the place names. And we've done birds, flowers, the things that folk are interested. Favourite words, food and drinks.
I was going to ask you, that was going to be my final question actually, but I'll put them in there now since you said about favourite words. What's thy favourite word?
To tell the honest truth, I don't have a favourite word, because I just love them all. But maneugalty, I do like the sound of maneugalty.
I love the way that Shetland words are so descriptive, so that even if you're not entirely sure what the meaning is, you kind of hear an inkling. My favourite word, I think, is the pooperit.
For poor Amos.
I can. It's such a shame, but sometimes you do feel a bit the pooperit.
Or sometimes you're just spaggy.
Yeah.
When you've done too much physical exercise and you get muscle pain. But I just think spaggy is just so much better a word. Is it muscle strain?
Well, I can't understand why there isn't just one singular word. And it seems that sometimes Shetlanders just distill it down into one word.
And in Whalsa it's the Hansper.
Yep, that's right.
And in